Hi, and welcome to the Yarn Habit Geek podcast, and a Happy New Year. My name is Laura. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Ravelry as Yarn Habit Geek. There's also a Ravelry group for the podcast where you can find show notes and this year and possibly take part in any of the upcoming giveaways and calls I'm doing for this year. And I'm going to apologize for missing last week's episode because it was Christmas time. I got a little busy for once. Let's just say last week I was bouncing from here to there, or everywhere, because this was first time since I started doing the podcast that Christmas was super busy for me now. But enough about that. I hope you all enjoyed a wonderful Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate and had a joyous New Year. But now we're in 2019 and it's time to start off with a new episode of the podcast. And I actually did I finished a project last night. So we've got some finished objects, we've got some whips, some of which have not seen the light of day in quite some time. So let's get started with this week's episode, shall we? Alright, on to whips of the week. Basically during the holiday season I only was working, one of the finished objects was a commission, but mainly I was working on my own projects because after I redid my commission list but also added my own personal list of projects I started but haven't finished, and that one was ridiculously long, so I'm going to be focusing at least a few projects that are on that list to finally finish, so that way it can grow smaller and then I can have time to work on, start other projects I do plan on doing. But on to whips of the week, and enough of my rambling. And the first whip is from the Ron Weasley blanket. So this square is about half done. I was really hoping to get the next row of squares done and sewn up before New Year's, but unfortunately life happens. But I've got 2 more squares after this, and then I will actually be halfway done the Ron Weasley blanket. Alright, enough of that. Next up is something I worked on while I was away few days for the weekend before Christmas, and that is my poison ivy wrap. I got a couple rows done, so it's not much, but I am now on the next ball of yarn that I wound up for this wrap. So hopefully I can have this done. I will probably, if I do a Poison Ivy cosplay, probably somehow incorporate this because it is based on Poison Ivy. And next up, it is an old wrap. Since I did start this when I started this podcast, but I figured it's time to bring it back, to work on it, and to free up the needles that are on it, and that is my Wonder Woman wrap. So I finally am getting back to this because these are on my interchangeable Knit Picks circular set, and I also kind of need the cable for bigger projects that I also want to finish. So I'm going to be working on this one a little more, just so I can finally finish it, along with the Poison Ivy wrap. So hopefully I will have more done on this one for next week. I only got like a couple of rows in, so I'm going to be working more on the Wonder Woman wrap. And next up, this is actually a new whip because it's a part of... Last year I did the temperature blanket. I probably won't do it again. I probably will do the I'll do the crochet version of the temperature in the scarf form, which weirdly is using the same temperature color guideline I was using for the blanket, so I'll probably go do that next year. So I will have a temperature scarf. It's probably going to be easier than the blanket for me, but I am still going to make. I need a blanket for my house. It's just going to be done in the squares. I will probably do a Ron Weasley blanket for myself sometime down the road, but enough rambling, because this is not rambling. This is Whips of the Week, and we have a new whip as a part of my new, for this year's year-long project, and I'm probably gonna open a thread in the Ravelry group in case anybody wants to just participate just for the fun. I'm finally doing a box of socks for myself. I'm doing a different sock pattern for each month, and this month I decided to do a pattern that was in that, actually I have the book here that it's in, that is in this book, Once Upon a Knit, which is the Dark Dream socks, and I actually started this last night. This is the cuff I'm working on in the twisted rib pattern that it's suggested, which is actually really nice, and I'm almost done this, but I'm probably going to work more on this on Saturday, which is my dedicated day for working on socks. So you're going to see more of this done this month. So I'm going to be focusing on just one pair of socks for myself during this month, which will be the Dark Dream socks, and I have another sock set planned for next month, which is themed around Valentine's Day. So that's it for the new whip. And last whip for this week, although I guess you could say this week was 2 weeks, but oh dear, it's gone missing. But I do have a picture, which did take a picture of it, which I will show after I'm done talking. And I've now completed 1/2 of my set of my chocolate pumpkin socks. It's probably it's probably stored in my room somewhere, because I thought I placed it back in the bag I have the yarn for those socks, but that's going to take a little bit of a hiatus right now, but I now have a half-finished sock, so yay for that, and I'm going to show it before we get on to finished objects, so here it is. Alright, we're now on finished objects, and I actually have 2 finished objects for this week's episode. And the first one up is the one I just finished last night, so it's the first finished object for 2019, and that is the rainbow hat. I know it looks like a square, but basically this was the only way I could get it to be in hat form, but you could say it's got little ears. But It's got all these colors, and like this was based off another rainbow hat I tried to duplicate, but obviously I can't duplicate that hat. So this is the hat I came up with, and a little more affordable than the one that it's based off of, but it's done. It's finally done. My diagonal rainbow hat, which is actually commissioned, so yay, that's done. And the last finished object is I'm going to talk about more in plans for this year, and that is one of the stockings I made. I made another stocking like I did back in 2017 for my cats. So I'm going to be talking more about this and why I made this, but I made this one just so I could write down the pattern, because I totally forgot to write down the pattern for when I first made the stockings, because it was just going to be one-off just for my cats. And I did write them down before, but as a part of a video I was planning on doing, but they disappeared, and I'm going to apologize for any background noise you'll hear because someone else is in the house. Alright, and that is it for finished objects. Let's get on to stash editions. Alright, stash editions. Now, I bought these before the new year, so these were my last buy of 2018 stash editions. But since I'm actually about after the Wednesday of last weekend, which I was supposed to do, which I totally forgot to do an episode, but let's start off this week with some Cascade yarn specific. Now, the reason there's no band on this is because I started using this. This one is in the burnt orange, and this one is persimmon, which I love it. It's almost like a goldfish orange, but they call it persimmon. And then we got the burnt orange, which I like, which is a nice dark orange, but not too dark. And next up is the Patton's Decor, which is in the color Rich Taupe. And this is bought this for one of the squares in the Run Weasley blanket that's coming up, so I don't have to worry. And next up is the Bernay Happy Holidays in glittery green. So you can see it's got little glitter strands in it. I should say glitter strand as it's going through the entire yarn. And I'm actually going to be making more stockings with this yarn, along with the last part of my stash edition I bought, which is the Bernay Baby Blanket in white, which I use for trim in my stockings. So, there's that, and that is it for stash editions. Next up is the last segment, which is my plans for 2019. Alright, time for the plans I have for 2019. First off, I'm now going to apologize for the amount of light that is coming up in towards me, because I am filming this later than I normally do. So first off is, obviously, I am doing a box of socks for the year. If you want to just have fun and take part of it, you can go to the Ravelry group and take part in the convo in the thread I'm going to start. I'm also going to update with all the past show notes I have forgotten to add to the Ravelry group. And also this year, throughout the year, I'm also going to be working on making more of those mini stockings that I had originally made for my cats, so I can finally have enough for stock and set up my Etsy store, which is mainly going to be open around Christmas time. And lastly, basically I already talked about a little bit about this when I brought up the Wonder Woman wrap, but because of I'm gonna work more on some of my own personal projects to get them off the needles and all that. So hopefully I can have more of my own personal projects done, because some of them have been near completion for so long now. So hopefully I can finally get those off the needles from Whip Limbo and into the land of finished objects. And that is it for this week's episode. I will see you all next week, and once again, hope you guys all had a happy new year, and I will see you next week. Till then, stay crafty, my friends.